I don't know why I waste my time reading reviews about like, you know, any movie that is like that you enjoy, and you'll always find at least like 10 or 15 or so more reviews that are just gonna shit on the very movie that you're like fucking excited to talk about and excited to share with people. And you just see people are like, this is disgusting. Which is why we're talking about The Substance, everybody. Welcome to Adam's Chase Podcast. I appreciate that you're here. I love that you're here. How are you doing? I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. There is a lot to talk about. There's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. But have no fear. We're gonna talk about a movie that I have to say shook, rattled, and fucking rolled me. And I'm talking about The Substance. I'm gonna do something a little bit different, and I'm gonna do a non-spoiler review. So for all the non-spoiler girlies, it's gonna be for you, and then we're gonna get straight into spoilers because there is a ton to talk about. Okay, so non-spoiler review. Let's go. The Substance. It's a horror film that was made this year by a French director, and I'm going to flex my 4 years of French right now. Coralie Fargeat. Coralie Fargeat. Okay. This is her second film, I believe. Her first being Revenge, which I haven't seen, but I did add it to my watch list because a lot of people definitely hype her up, and rightfully so, because this movie had really fucking. This movie is an exploration and almost a celebration of like body horror film that, if you guys are a fan of David Cronenberg or or even his son Brandon Cronenberg, I love not Infinity Pool, but what was that movie? It was a great. I don't know it. I would call it a this movie. It was more of a sci-fi film. Possessor. It came out in 2020. Possessor is a fantastic film. It's a little bit of a body horror thing, but not really. It's more sci-fi than anything. But fantastic movie. It's very much in the vein of body horror, but it's a lot more than that. It's gotten a Best Screenplay award at Cannes Film Festival, and it's just a story about a long forgone workout guru, fitness girly, who kind of just outlived her spotlight, and she wanted to still keep holding on to that, and she decided to take this random ass drug that has no information other than that, oh, you will just create a better version of yourself, essentially, that comes from yourself, which how that process works out is terrifying. It is terrifying, but in the greatest possible way. And I will say, I'm not like the biggest body horror fan. I'm more of a John Carpenter fan. I'm not a huge Cronenberg fan. I did watch The Brood. I did like that film. But yeah, Videodrome is good. The Fly is good. But yeah, I'm not big on Cronenberg, and I do like his son's work though a lot. But I do think this film by Corley, I am shocked, and I wish I saw this in the theater. Like, this was like one of those films, which, by the way, it's available on Mubi. I don't know if y'all have Mubi. It's a neat little app for like independent films and international films. Check it out. It's worth having a free trial for. You can get it on Amazon. You get like a free trial for like, actually, I don't know, maybe 14 days, 7 days, something like that. But yeah, great international films, amazing. Definitely a work of art. So yeah, The Substance is a crazy fucking insane, batshit, wonderful, exciting, hilarious film. I gotta say, this has now topped my my top movies of 2024. Which, what sucks is that I haven't wrote a lot of those movies down of what I watched this year, and I'm now in the process of trying to like remember all the films that I have watched and just write them down, just so I don't forget about it, because your boy watches a lot of films. Okay. So yeah, I think the film is crazy. It's wonderful. It's great. And I hope and pray to God that like this film is going to get some sort of award nomination. Demi Moore. I mean, what can I say about Demi Moore? She is a legendary thespian. She was in Ghost. She was in one of my favorite movies, Charlie's Angels 2, Full Throttle. That was the first time I've ever seen her in a film, and I thought she was terrifying. She was great, and in this movie is no exception. Like, she is absolutely phenomenal. So the classic fucking Dennis Quaid is in it, who plays a character named Harvey. You'll understand when you watch the film. He plays as a producer for a television studio, I guess. I don't know. It's not ultimately clear, but Margaret Qualley. Now, she is dynamic. She's fantastic. She's been in several movies that I've seen of hers that I really, really enjoyed. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought she was great in that. She was in Poor Things as well. Not a huge role in Poor Things. But yeah. And apparently she was in Death Stranding. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, and apparently she was also in The Leftovers too. That's crazy as well. Yeah, I just think that like this was a star-studded cast that really that really like took the characters that they played and just did it well. And Margaret Qualley, of course, like plays a younger version of Demi Moore's character, I guess. And yeah, I think that it's a riotous film. Here's the thing. I recommend watching this movie with other people. It is a very much a communal experience. It is a fun fucking time. Now, there's a little bit of a warning though. If you do watch this, it is a body horror film, so you got to mention that. You can't just unless you want to play a fantastic prank on somebody and say that it's a romance film. You can lie to them. I don't recommend it, but it might divide a lot of people. And it certainly has with Letterboxd, with these reviews that I just talked about. And yeah, it's quite a ride. It's quite a ride. I enjoyed the fuck out of it, but I can easily tell that there's going to be so many people who are going to think that this is like the grossest, weirdest fucking shit ever. And it does. I will say it takes body horror to another level that I have not really wrapped my head around. And Coralie just like basically like throws so many movies and in so much horror into it, but like, there's messages with, body image issues and addiction and and just always trying to grasp onto something that is just already have abandoned you. You know what I mean? Like the spotlight, it's like once, it's past, it's already past, and you've hit your peak, you've hit your prime. Now it's over. It's time to bow out, take your flowers, and move on. And Demi Moore's character holds on to it by a thread, and chaos ensues when she finds out about a drug named the substance. And we're gonna get into spoilers. So it's been 10 minutes already of it. Now we're getting into spoiler territory. Okay, this is, oh my God. So let's just start off with the story. Okay. The story of unaccepting, like, the post-peak of someone's, popularity and spotlight, like Demi Moore's character, who was I guess a fitness guru or like a workout, like, trainer, I guess. And she has already kind of surpassed her point of stardom, and even like producers are just kind of like wanting to like push her away, like Dennis Quaid's character, just definitely want to push her away. And in the first, like, I would say 15 minutes of the film, it's almost like as if exactly what the film is just going, like the lengths the film is going to go to, because, well, hold on. I'm so excited talking about this film. I'm getting all over the place. So let's just stick with the story for a second. The story about her and trying to regain that glory of being young again. She finds the substance, finally regains the glory of having a younger self, kind of assuming the role, assuming the identity of the it girl, right? To steal from Mulholland Drive, which is also, I feel like, another inspiration for this film, where if y'all haven't seen Mulholland Drive, people are divided with David Lynch stuff. I talked about it in the last episode. I feel like David Lynch is fine. My favorite is Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks. Mulholland Drive is okay. I do really enjoy Blue Velvet. But yeah, Mulholland Drive is definitely, very much about the same cultural issues with the substance, more or less. And as the film progresses, you notice that Demi Moore's character is willfully trying to live through her counterpart, which I thought, and I think this is just me as a dumb audience, as like a dumb filmmaker / audience, in that I thought how it was going to go was that they were going to share the same subconsciousness, like the same brain, with all of the memories and everything that, she has. And it was just going to be moved to a different body. And then once, like the whole idea of the substance is that once you spend 1 week in your new body, you have to switch to back to your original body. And, there's a way of like taking care of your unconscious body for that week by feeding it like just grayish goo as called a food matrix to keep the body alive. And then once that is depleted, once the 7 days is up, no exceptions, you have to switch bodies. No exceptions. There's lots of rules with taking this drug. And of course, like any other film, it has to break those rules. So once the rules are broken, chaos ensues, essentially, right? So the first and foremost was that they kind of broke it down to where they show, okay, this is Elizabeth's character, which is Demi Moore's character. and she is holding on by a thread, and there's a wonderful shot, and there was like a mirrored shot too, towards the end, where it starts off with her Hollywood star being like, just newly made, and she's like this prominent, star figure of Hollywood, and that quickly is just forgotten and gone away, on a Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like, the star is just focus on the star for like 5 minutes. And it's just like, as time goes by, people walk all over it. People spill food on it. They just, it's just like utter disrespect. But also it's a Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like I've been, I don't know if y'all have ever been to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but you see interesting cats running around. Some are crazy, some just dress up as random ass characters, and you take pictures with them. It's a tourist trap. Let's just say that the Walk of Fame is definitely a tourist trap, but it's also walking grounds for unhoused people and whatnot, which is sad to see it now the way that it is, but also it's kind of like ironic, because that's just like Hollywood is just like very elite, very top level tax bracket people, like the 1% who just essentially like call all the shots and are the gatekeepers of Hollywood, essentially, right? So with that being said, Demi Moore's character goes to the doctor and gets a recommendation from a nurse about the substance. And, she was skeptical about it. She didn't know. And she was like, this is just bullshit, whatever. She throws it away, kind of forgets about it. Until, she sees herself on TV. Then she sees like other people, like an advertisement saying that, this is going to be the new Elizabeth, right? We're looking for the new Elizabeth. Essentially showing that, we want to replace the old one. The old one's now kind of, out of the spotlight. Let's just bring in a new one. And so she gets upset. She wants to reclaim that glory. So she grabs the phone number to the substance, and she gets it. And and the transformation of how the surrogate body, the new body is made, is absolutely horrifying. It is so disorienting, and the whole film just feels disorienting, really. Not in a bad way, not in an unwatchable way. And I will say, for most people, I know, like, if you're a horror fan, body horror is like whatever, right? But I assure you, do not watch this movie while eating any food at all. A buddy of mine recommended this film a while back. He saw it in theaters, and he was like, yeah, I watched this at, I don't know if it was in Alamo, but there was like a dine-in kind of theater, and he said, I made the biggest mistake of ordering nachos and watching this film. And you'll understand why. Because you just, like, the sound design and the cinematography works in tandem by making it as claustrophobic and as invasive as possible. And what I mean by that is, like, even in the first 15 minutes when Harvey's introduced, right? Harvey's introduced, and he comes really fucking close to a camera, and he just, like, you just see him from his whole entire face, and he's just like peeing in a urinal while on a phone talking about how Elizabeth is just a long forgotten actress or star figure, and once you're in your 50s, you're essentially old goods. You don't have the it factor, the hot factor, right? And you hear all of this, and I feel like it is the director's intention to just make it as claustrophobic as possible, because there was no mistaking for what he has said about Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth. And how the chaos just ensues is that Demi Moore's character, when she gets her surrogate, which is Margaret Qualley, she is named Sue. Sue wants absolutely nothing to do with the old surrogate, the Elizabeth character, because she's getting old, she's past due, whatever, and she just wants to distance herself and she wants to do her own thing. But that's already breaking one of the rules of the substance, and the rule is that you are one. You are one person, so you have to take care of each other as one. And I think that's where my confusion lied, was that I thought this subconscious was shared, but it's not at all. Like, not at all. They are completely different people. And Sue just wants nothing to do with the older version of herself. And so she goes out of her way to make sure that she can stretch her time as long as she possibly can, by getting the spotlight, going out, hooking up, all that stuff. She wants to live that old, the old glory days, essentially. And completely, abandoning and disrespecting the original body. And so, yeah, it definitely plays on the whole addiction part of it as well, of like, body image issues, but addiction of like, I guess any substance abuse, right? To think that like, to just make yourself like a completely different person, for like an X amount of time, like what most drugs do, essentially. And I think that was an interesting, it's an interesting little, like a subliminal message there, right? I don't know if it was subliminal. I think it was pretty direct and pretty honest. That's the thing with this director, is that she doesn't really spare any expense in showing you like everything. Like there's no like hidden meaning. There's no, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some in many ways. This does deserve a rewatch for sure. But for what I took from my first viewing last night, was just that, was just like, this was a message about addiction, body image, and letting go of the time that you already had, appreciate the time that you had, accept the time that you had, and know that at certain point you have to move on. But this character again wants to break all of those rules, because it just, she feels like this is her only calling, her only connection to stardom, wherever it is, right? So I think the film did the absolute most perfect job of showing this, establishing it, and laying out the ground rules for why following the rules of the substance is very important, and at a certain point, like it's all by phone calls, and she just goes into an alleyway where she has to like get on her hands and knees to crawl under this gate in order to just get the drug. And I just kind of love that message of like how people are when it comes to substance abuse, where it's like people will get on their hands and knees in order to just, and crawl in order to just get the thing that they want. They are willing to make themselves look, as embarrassing and as pathetic as they possibly can in order to pursue that drug. And I just think that that's a phenomenal little bit of imagery there. And yeah, so she just goes into this white room, picks up the substance, and then once she hits the activator, which is one-time use, then she essentially births out, not in the traditional way, mind you, but essentially births out a new surrogate, herself, fully grown, fully everything, beautiful version of herself from a while ago, from a long time ago, in her prime days, right? So with that, she fully embraces the whole substance thing, and she follows the rules until her surrogate wants to break those rules and say that she needs more time because she's got a photo shoot, she wants to go out, she's got a New Year show, and she's getting all this limelight and all this stardom. Meanwhile, because she broke those rules of not just switching every 7 days, she doesn't pay the consequences necessarily, but the original body does. So Elizabeth starts to decay, essentially, like starting from her finger all the way, through her body. Because at one point, she just took 3 months of not switching, and that made a very that clearly made consequences for the original person, for Elizabeth, for this character. And all of the things that all the good things that happened to the surrogate was only by way of Elizabeth, the original, kind of accepting those consequences. And she sees it you just see it kind of fully realized. And then at a certain point, she wants out. She doesn't want to participate in it anymore. And the mysterious man on the phone who had given her the substance, or at least like sold her the substance, was like, okay, but if you do give up, you don't want to do this anymore, you cannot go back. That's it. That's the end. And I'll get to that point in just a second. But there was one more thing I'm trying to remember, and it was so good, and it's now escaping my brain. God dang it. Shoot. What was it? And it was in my brain. I'm like, oh, I got to remember. This is why I have a notebook and I don't write anything down. Yeah, I mean, it's just like the whole story of it. It was just so fascinating just by itself alone, without all the body horror stuff, was very, very interesting. And I think that in my opinion, I think that it's a great cautionary tale. Yeah, I mean, it's just this film just goes fucking batshit crazy. I'm trying to rack my head around what it is that I'm trying to remember. Okay, one more thing I wanted to bring up with this film. I already recorded, and it wasn't until after I realized that I needed to talk about this. There was one scene as well that I thought was very poignant, and this is why I think Demi Moore deserves an Oscar for this, in my opinion, because there's one moment where she wants to rekindle a guy who's taken interest with her, from grade school, and has just always been obsessed with her. And she didn't really give him the time of day, although at a certain point when she sees her surrogate kind of gallivanting, enjoying life, she also wants to enjoy life. She wants to feel like that woman again. And so she reaches out and she wants to set up a date, and she does. And Elizabeth, Demi Moore's character, literally takes so long to just put on makeup, put on her dress, put on everything that it makes her feel, herself. And every time she walks out, she sees that billboard, like I was saying, outside of her home, of the surrogate, of Sue. And every time she does, it prevents her from, even leaving the house, just being confident in who she is already, she has to then go back, redo her makeup, fix her dress, do all these things to make her, feel like she's young again and pretty enough. And, she just keeps, going back, at least 2 or 3 times before she realizes that there's nothing she can do and that she is just going to be the person that she is. And she resents herself and she resents the surrogate for that. And she just stays home and just completely abandons the date because she doesn't feel, good enough. She doesn't feel pretty enough. She doesn't feel, herself again, because it's long gone. And seeing her go from like, being optimistic and happy to then being sad and cold, and like you can see her body even getting smaller and smaller, as she like wipes her makeup off and reapplies it again. It's just it's fucking cinema, y'all. Okay, it's just that's what it is. All right. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'm probably gonna splice it in the episode somewhere. But yeah, that had to go without saying. I hope Demi wins an Oscar. If she doesn't, the awards are a sham and they're broken and it needs to end. Okay, bye. So there was one part in the film that I thought was really interesting, was how like even her original self have like she doesn't remember anything, or she has no recollection of what the surrogate has done. So the original Elizabeth wakes up and finds like a dirty messy room, or vice versa. Like the surrogate would wake up and would see like the that Elizabeth has kind of become a glutton, and she just kind of eats herself to punish herself, I guess, to whatever, to just like kind of indulge into something that makes her feel something, and it doesn't fully work out for her, because at one point the surrogate then asked the substance dude over the phone, like, hey, I need to be away from the OG. I need to be away from her, Elizabeth. And the guy was just like, yeah, that's not how it works. You have to respect the rules. You have to switch, and if you don't, there will be consequences. And of course, she didn't follow that, and so she just keeps going for 3 months until Elizabeth wakes up and she's just decrepit. She is broken. She has like a hump in her back. She's just like, she kind of like turned into a variant of that old like hag lady from The Shining, from like the nightmare that Jack Nicholson was living in. So it's kind of looking like that. And yeah, it is, the prosthetics alone is like anybody who is into special effects or special effects makeup, I think we'll have a blast with this film, because like the prosthetics and the time to make all this is just like the careful craftedness. And there was one point where there is this like by the third act, there is this kind of like so by the third act, the original Elizabeth wanted to end the entire thing, and was just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I become like this decrepit old woman. She is literally taking my life. I cannot do this anymore. So the substance guy was like, okay, here's the kit. Here's the thing to terminate your surrogate, and that's it. One shot, jab, you're done, and the surrogate's gone, and you can live off the rest of your miserable days, essentially. And so she does. So she puts the injector into the surrogate, into Sue, and essentially kills her. The problem, though, was that she quickly realizes that, she needs her in order to live out the days that she has tried so hard to hold on to for the longest time. And she was just not willing to accept it, even though it's already too late. You already had made the decision to do that. You still didn't follow it. And she was like, you know what, fuck this. And so she switched the bodies. So she switched the bodies again. But this time, instead of one being unconscious and the other one waking up, they are both conscious. They are both awake. And the surrogate is fucking pissed. And the surrogate tries everything to essentially kill Elizabeth, the original. And at a certain point, she does. She just like beats her to a fucking pulp, and which is, in my opinion, a hate crime against geriatrics. Like, why the fuck would you beat the shit out of an old lady with a humpback? That's just fucked up. And I was laughing through that entire. I thought that was great. I thought the action sequence was great. I thought it was good. There's no notes about it. It's just I couldn't stop laughing because it was just so fucking crazy. And so she carries on. The surrogate Sue carries on. She does her fashion or her New Year's show. And when it got to the New Year's show, things start falling apart for her because she needs stabilizer, which is taken from the spine, which is like just stabilizer fluid taken from the spine, and just every day has to inject herself with that stabilizer fluid in order to just like keep going, essentially. Another message about drug abuse and stuff like that, which is neat. Anyways, but she then has to make a drastic decision because she can't get any stabilizer fluid. So she inevitably just carries on, and she figures out that she still has a little bit of activator fluid remaining, which is supposed to be discarded the moment that you inject it once. And you only have that one time, and that's it. You got to discard it after use. Apparently, Elizabeth kept that bottle, I guess for that specific reason. And so the surrogate thought, okay, well, if Elizabeth did it, the OG did it, well, then I can do it. And this is where the body horror really fucking shines, okay? So she takes the activator fluid as a surrogate, as Sue, and she does it, and out comes, this monstrosity, and it's like a mash of the surrogate and the OG kind of like mashed together. And I was thinking about just showing a screenshot of that, but if you guys are still even listening to this and don't want a lot of it spoiled, unless you already skipped that part, I don't want to show it, but anybody who has seen it knows, and it's fucking terrifying. It is so gross and so terrifying, but all the more hilarious too, especially when it comes to the New Year's Eve show, because she still dresses herself up, gets her makeup done, and cuts out a poster of her face to put on her face, because she is just grotesque. She is just like absolutely like just an abomination. And so she shows up, and everybody is just mortified, of course, right? Like that's just the most normal reaction. And then essentially, like, the third act of Carrie kind of comes into play, and she something happened to her body, and it just like fucking sprays the entire audience, the entire room with blood, because like she's falling apart. She's like decrepit. She's like a mixture of like two different bodies just molded into one. And they called it a Monstro Eliza Sue, which I thought is a fantastic name. I hope Monstro Elizasu makes an appearance on Mortal Kombat or some shit, because that shit was fucking wild. And yeah, I think it's just like a wonderful display of just like the sheer creativity of the special effects, the makeup and the prosthetics and all of that is just because you see another bit of transformation, because when one limb is cut off from this monster, more limbs kind of grow out. And I tried looking around, and I hope you guys can answer this question, but I think that is all practical. I don't think there was any CGI. I don't think. It didn't look like CGI, and if there was CGI, bravo to the CGI team, but I didn't see much. And it seemed like it was all prosthetics. It was all practical. It reminded me of the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London, one of my favorite John Landis films of all time, and top 5, I would say top 10 horror films of all time. One of them is definitely up there. And that whole transformation scene, the intent was to do it in like broad daylight, to do it in like, the most, soap opera-y lighting, where it's just like very, very top heavy. It illuminates every part of it, every aspect of it. And to see that transformation done is very impressive for a movie that was made in the 80s. I think 70s? No. Hold on. American Werewolf. 1981. So with a film that was made in 1981, that's very, 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 very impressive. Shout out to Rick Baker for pulling that shit off. That shit is not easy. And they kind of did the same thing with this film, where you see transformation, and it's like, it's colorful lighting, and it's nice nice lighting, but like it's vivid. You see every part of it, and they go really close in almost every shot. And that was basically the entire film, was that like they purposefully shot it so close because they want to give you the sense of like claustrophobia, and the sound design of just like people eating was so disgusting and so like just like revolting, that like you would imagine that like all of these like lower sounds that you wouldn't really want to pick up, the sound design fucking jacked that noise up, especially when it came to eating and like, smoking, or even smiling, or like, Sue blowing a kiss to the camera. It's like you hear every fucking decibel of that noise, and it's so, like I said, it's very disorienting, but it's so wonderfully crafted, and I cannot recommend this film enough. And I hope and pray that this film will land on some sort of awards list, and I hope and pray that Coralie Fargeat wins direction or writing. I know she won for writing in Cannes Film Festival, but like this deserves way more praise. And I think Demi Moore, this was like honestly one of the best performances that I've seen of hers. That's the part that I wanted to bring up. There was one part where because of how the surrogate distanced herself, so did the original. So did Elizabeth, Demi Moore's character, who just absolutely fucking despises her because she sees a surrogate on TV from like a recorded interview of like, of replacing Elizabeth and how she feels about it. And Sue just makes up a bullshit story about like, oh, I don't know who she is. She's kind of old. She's lived past her time. Who cares, right? And Elizabeth just fucking goes apeshit. She just goes fucking crazy. She starts like covering the windows because there's a billboard just right outside her fucking door. Again, body image issues just up the wazoo. There's like a billboard right outside her home that she can see. So Elizabeth covers the entire windows full of like newspapers and covers her TV because she cannot stand the sight of her surrogate getting all the attention, all the love, all the fame. So that when it came to the third act, when it came to her making the decision, I don't want to do this anymore, let's terminate. She terminates, immediately regrets it because she knows that like that's her only way of living glory is through her, right? Of stardom, of fame and fortune and all that. Like that's all through her now. So her reverting back, it was almost like the entire movie was about like making bad decisions to worse decisions and then immediately regretting the worst decision, but then still progressively making more worse decisions as the film progresses. And it's just, what else can I say? It's just, it's phenomenal. It's a great, fantastic film. And the production design too, as like a art department guy, a set deck, I really appreciated how timeless the film is, because the film is surreal, right? It's like a kind of surrealistic kind of expectation. Somebody said that it felt grounded. I saw it on the Letterboxd review, and I couldn't disagree more. I don't think that it was meant to be grounded. Maybe in certain circumstances, like how the characters were and like, hitting their rock bottom in body image issues. But like this film is surreal from beginning to end. It's just like it lives in like a, surrealistic world. And the production design reflects that completely by like having buildings that look, retro futuristic, and the apartment kind of looking like old Hollywood mixed with like new Hollywood, postmodernism, and even like the producer's office looks very much like, like a typical producer's office, but like, from the 80s, just like with people like smoking cigarettes, like chimneys, people like walking around in business suits. He's always surrounded by the producer, Harvey, Dennis Quaid's character, surrounded by suits all the time, and I thought it was interesting. It's timeless too, because like at one point you see a guy like check his pager. I forgot which character, but there was like a character who like checks his pager, and I was just so confused because they all use cell phones too. So it's almost like oh, they're embracing the modern technology, but still ushering the old idea of Hollywood and the old idea of like technology, like pagers and stuff like that. I know that's intentional by the director, because there really aren't any mistakes when it comes to shit like that. And I thought all those decisions were fantastic. Just by way of like kind of showing like how this film is not really set in any time period whatsoever. Because I mean, yeah, the whole idea of like substance abuse and body image issues is essentially timeless. It happens to everybody, happens to the best of, child stars, just kind of falling from grace and just kind of, using drugs as like an escape. Which is like horrifying for a lot of these like otherwise great child actors and movie stars, and not all of them, by the way. Like some of them, like a lot of them make it through that point, But all in all, it just it eats away your soul, it eats away your body. In this case, with the substance, it just completely deteriorates you. It literally makes you decay. So, yeah, the third act is absolutely crazy. Even the last like 2 minutes of the film, of just like a flattened brain just crawling to the Hollywood star that we saw in the beginning of the film, and just dying there. And then the next day, the street sweeper just cleans it right up and moves on, like as if it never even fucking happened. Wow, it is just a like I said, a crazy fucking movie that I highly recommend. Watch it with people because this is a great time. This could end a lot of friendships and relationships, but it also could be a joyous experience, that can improve the bond between anyone who you're watching with, you know. Um, so highly recommend. I'm definitely gonna watch this film again, hopefully with other people. Yeah, I really want to show my friends this film because people who you work with like-minded people in the film industry is always so fun because at the end of the day, the only reason why you work in film is because you fucking love movies. So, to even share that experience is going to be a great fucking time. Um, so I think that's about it. What did you guys think? Have you seen The Substance? Have you not seen The Substance? Do you like body horror film? If you don't, that's fine. It's okay. If you don't like body horror at all, like it grosses you out, I would steer far and away from this film as possible. But if you can get past that and you don't eat when you watch the film, um, it's a great fucking time. At least in my opinion. I definitely recommend watching this film. Although fair warning, there is a lot of shit that is just going to be really fucking intense, but it's hilarious in a lot of parts. Great use of dark humor. Um, it's just total bonkers fucking fun. So yeah, it's definitely I would say in my top few films of the year for me with The Substance. So yeah, highly recommend. Totally fun. And yeah, let me know. And also let me know any moments that you took away from the film as well. Um, because I wanna hear all your guys' thoughts about it. So yeah, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. I got nothing more to say. I don't know what's gonna be up next for me to watch. I do have a few things going on, so hopefully I do make some time. I probably will, just depending on how much time I have. But yeah, I mean, this is why I do this podcast, y'all. Is because when I watch a good movie like this, all I want to do is just gush and tell people about it, and just push people to keep watching weird films like this, and it's a nice, great big break for me to just go and just watch a movie, just get what I need to from beginning to end, and just not, just be so invested in shows and whatnot. Not saying that, the shows that I've been watching are bad or anyway. It's just like it's nice to watch a film that you can just begin and end, and you leave it and you talk about it if you want to, or not. If it's not a film that's memorable enough for you to talk about or for me to talk about, I probably stay away from it. But this film, I'd say run, don't walk. Definitely watch this with other people. Don't eat. Um, and yeah, it's a great fucking time. And I hope you guys have a good time watching this, or had a good time watching this. Yeah. Thank you so much, y'all. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.